MyFantasySportsTalk.com.
Last week on My Fantasy Podcast. I don't know if you saw this today, Dan. This is totally not sports related, but Senator Steve Cohen out of Tennessee from Memphis actually introduced articles of impeachment on Trump today. Did you see that? And
No, I did not, actually.
Happening. Yeah, it's getting serious. Yeah. And I'm considering doing the same thing to you as our fantasy football league commissioner. So articles of impeachment could be coming your way. Why has LeBron become such a little punk? You see how he played against the Knicks? Dirty. Chad ties. Do you agree with that, Orlando? Did you see that?
Yeah, no, I saw it. And I'm going to sense that Chad's a Knicks fan, so he's probably being a little salty.
See, everything is coming back on. Brandon, you're turning everything against me today. I can already feel it. It started with the trade chatter earlier in the show before Orlando joined us. Orlando, you missed it. I had this great joke, and Brandon said he was going to impeach me, so then I got all flustered.
God.
And the joke got ruined. The audience is still...
You know what got ruined? My fantasy football season got ruined.
That got ruined when you drafted Jamal Charles and Isaiah Crowell to be your running backs. With me, as the commissioner, I didn't think the guys were going to veto it. I mean, we were going on our message boards all day kind of making a joke because, I mean, it is – I wouldn't go as far to say unfair, but it 100% makes – your team better, Brandon, and it does not make Ryan's team better by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know why he thinks that. I wanted this trade to go through for the fact that I think Thomas Take's team would not even make the playoffs if he made this move. He would lose out. He still might.
But
he's that bad of an
isn't
owner,
it suspicious, though, that the only guys chiming in of the whole 14-team league are the two guys ahead of me in the standings?
Yeah, but here's the other question. Where do the other two votes come from? I'm a little suspicious of our boy Thomas Take. I would not be surprised if he was one of those votes.
Welcome back, podcast peeps. How you folks doing out there? Happy Thanksgiving to you guys. It is Wednesday, November, I don't know, what's the date, Dan? 22nd?
22nd.
Okay, so Thursday, November 23rd will be Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving, guys. And it's just me and Dan today, solo, just kind of giving back to you on Thanksgiving because we're both under the weather. Sick, not feeling great, under the weather. I don't even know why I said that. I never even used that expression, Dan. What does that even mean? That just naturally came out.
Maybe it's something to do with the Buffalo temperatures, because that's why I'm sick, is when it's 12 degrees outside, you just get sick a lot, and that happens here. So maybe it was something to do with our cold weather, because I'm sure you're not having the temps that we have here in Buffalo.
No, it has got colder. We had a little bit of cold snap in the last week, but just to take it down to the 40s or so. 13? Did you say 13?
Yeah, it's been in the teens all week. Sometimes it shoots up to those 20s and 30s, but we've had snowfall here already, so it's just to be expected when you live in the Northeast, especially Buffalo.
Yep. You got that snow yet?
Yeah, a little bit. We've did dustings, nothing that will be too bad, but it's coming.
I was watching football Sunday, and I know it was snowing in Cleveland. Watching a little bit of that game, Jacksonville at Cleveland. The snow is finally here. The weather's changing. Got some snow games. But I am Brandon Reed. That is Dan Shaw. And just us two today. Orlando had to miss the podcast. He had other arrangements. Also, his grandfather may be a little bit under the weather, as they'd say back in the day, but not feeling well. So I hope his grandpa gets better too, Orlando. So shout out to you, and we'll see you next week, the next time we get together, as soon as it may be. So what me and Dan are going to do today is just kind of open up the show. And thanks to all you guys who've been watching over the last few weeks, a newer audience, and we've had controversy, so a lot to keep up with. So we appreciate all you guys and all the feedback we got for a little bit of fantasy football trade controversy last week. So we'll get into that in a little bit. Then we got a whole big sack of mailbag questions, just a holiday stocking full of mailbag questions. We're just going to answer them straight through. Nick Pertins is one of them. Kick off the show, so stay tuned for that. And no particular order as far as sports. You can go through them 1 through 8. These are the 8 that were chosen for this week's podcast. And then me and Dan are about to tell you why we are thankful over this sports season. So check out our list, which we're going to get into in just a second. It's the Thanksgiving episode 2017 of My Fantasy Podcast from MyFantasySportsTalk.com. Appreciate all you guys for listening and watching. Check us out on the website, of course, MyFantasySportsTalk.com, and on BLZSports.com as well. On YouTube, on iTunes. We're still all over that place, Dan, everywhere.
Yeah, wherever you think we're there. So find us.
Almost like the My Fantasy teleportation system. We'll be there, and don't worry about it. Just wish it, and it will come true. So maybe we're both doped up, but this show may go sideways. Dan, I don't know, you on that cough medicine too, man?
Yeah, my head is in the skies right now. Let's just say that. So. Bear with us for this episode, because Brandon is doing a great job hosting, but he is definitely under the weather, and we're gonna power through. So I don't know, you're gonna hear some stuff. It might not make a whole lot of sense, but we're thankful for you guys listening.
Yeah, that's why we're going to keep it going, because we got so much feedback from this week and so many questions. So the MyFantasySportsTalk.com world can't help it if we're sick. We got a show to produce, so that's what we're going to do. And so, yeah, but, if I happen to cough or sneeze or leave altogether during the show, that's kind of why. Just a little bit under the weather. But so basically what I came up with this week with the Thanksgiving episode, Dan, is I just thought, let's just kind of tell folks at home, just give a couple of things that you're thankful for during this sports season, whether it's fantasy related or whether it's just real sports in general. And I have an idea, and I'm not even going to leave it up for debate. I'm not even going to really let you announce it. I'll announce that for you. Your number one of the year had to be the Astros winning the World Series. Number one all time any year.
Yeah, it was definitely a special year, and a year that I probably watched 80% of their regular season games and obviously all of their postseason games. So I was with this team from the beginning. The highs of the beginning of the year, I was like, this is a World Series team. Then they hit a lull in the middle of the season. I'm like, maybe this isn't it. They get Verlander, and they go through that marvelous postseason, on the back of Hurricane Harvey and the disaster that hit the Houston area. Although I'm not, living in Houston, I kind of felt like I was going through that with them. So it was definitely a special season, and it was the first time, as I mentioned on the podcast when they won, it was the first time in my adult life a team of mine had won the championship, and the feeling that you get right after it happens is kind of surreal, and it's kind of weird as a fan to feel that way, because the players are the staff and the team, they're the ones that should feel it, but it was a different part of me, and it was a fantastic feeling, and I'm very thankful for that. And I'm not only thankful for this year, but they've built a team that can win for the next few years, or at least contend. So I'm very thankful for the Astros, Jeff Luhnow, and what they've done for my year.
So let me get the all curious. What would be the second for you, second best, whether fantasy or real sports related, of the year that you're most thankful for?
Yeah, it's going to be picking up a ring in our lovely fantasy basketball league that was technically in 2017. So I'm gonna take that with me. A grueling victory over our own New Breeds. So yeah, I'm champion. So that's I'm thankful for that because, as we had discussed when it happened, you wanted to win the basketball, I wanted to win the football, and it kind of flip-flopped on us. So that's my number 2 is still being able to nudge out that championship.
And we'll talk about my fantasy chances for this year in football in just a second with a little bit of a follow-up to the trade that didn't go down. Or did it? We'll talk about that in just a second. So I was just thinking about this and just kind of thinking locally. Both of them are real life. My fantasy season is not going so well, of course, as documented on this podcast throughout every episode of 2017. But real life scenarios, one is going to be one that Dan is very familiar with. And I may surprise you here with this one, but it's Tyreke Evans coming back to Memphis. I really like that move. I think I proclaimed that to everyone that I liked that move when they did it. It's exactly what they needed, provided that scoring. And dude is just a reckless machine driving to the basket. That's just what he does. He should be shooting 85% because he gets layups. But he's really what we needed. And I know the team's not going so well. Nick Perkins wants to talk about that. We'll do that in just a second. But I think he is fills a lot of voids that the Grizzlies were missing to compete in today's NBA. And I know the record's not going so hot right now, although it started out great. But what do you think about that, Dan? Tyreke Evans, you picked him up on fantasy, and he's been doing great for you. I think I looked at it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think his high was maybe like a 70-point game.
It could have been. I don't even know what it was, but he puts up 30 to 40 points easy a night for me, and that's really all I care about. Yeah, I mean, he's been probably one of the most consistent players on my team, and he was drafted. I think I got him in the later mid to late rounds. So the value pick, I won on that. So I'm thankful. I'm definitely thankful for Tyreke Evans. I like the direction you went. You can always send me a trade offer, multiple players for Tyreke. That might be able to help you. I'm not locked in on him, so if you're so thankful for him, send some offers.
Well, I know he's scoring. It looks to me like you can count on just about 35 to 40 a night.
Yeah, easy. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, a great fantasy pickup. So, but speaking of that, though, we are matched up in fantasy basketball this week, folks. Me and Dan, last year's champ, going head to head, straight at it. And I don't know if you saw this, Dan, though, but you got a huge break tonight because you're not going to get about 70 points scored on you because Giannis Antetokounmpo is out.
Oh darn! I didn't even know that. So you just made me very thankful. That's great. I'll take
There's
it.
your 3. There's your third. Set you up for that one. There's your third thing to be thankful for, because you seriously may have just picked up a win, because in a weak setting, you cannot afford your superstar, this top guy in the league, to miss out one game. That's huge. That's huge.
I'm also thankful for your excuses starting midweek to your eventual loss. So that's good. I know what you're doing, Brandon. I see it. I see right through it. You're starting. That's a Thomas Take move that you just did right there.
No. I look at the thing about fantasy basketball is the schedule, man. The schedule can kill you. I'm not saying your team not even playing better than mine right now. Mine's been on a little bit of a slump. Of course, Mike Conley went out. If a player like Giannis Antetokounmpo misses one game in a week, that's huge. So, it happens. But not only that, even when teams play, and you know this, Dan, because you had 0 guys playing last night. I had 2 and caught up on you. So sometimes it's just the schedule. Works in your favor or not in your favor in fantasy basketball. So, but anyway, my number one, let's finish this thing up. My number one thing that I'm thankful for in this sports season is Mike Norvell, head coach of the Tiger football team for now, for a little bit longer. But the Tigers are 10-1, ranked, depending on which poll you look at, they're ranked as high as 15. They're moving up incrementally, but the college football playoff poll giving them no love, Dan. They're only like 20, way back there. But that's what I'm thankful for. What do you think about Mike Norvell, Dan? Is he going to be a Tiger football coach much longer?
Yeah, probably not. I think he's probably going to go the way of Justin Fuente, the way he went to a big-time program. But it's good to see, because for a while there, Memphis was all basketball, and their football teams were absolutely terrible.
Worst in the country, literally worst in the country.
Yeah, so just to see that they're able to sustain that type of success after a coach who kind of builds the program up leaves, that's really good to see. And maybe it's a changing of the tide consistently now where they're going to be able to pull maybe not 10 win seasons, but consistently 7 to 8 and make a bowl game every year. So you got to like the way that, you know, the AD is hiring their guys, and that it's kind of building a culture now with that football team and that program that this is what they can do every year.
It's to be expected. Now, it's so crazy because, like you mentioned, the football team is way up here now, and the basketball team is way down here. So
basketball is still the most popular sport at that school, right?
Not based on attendance right now.
Really?
In the city, yes. In the city, yes. And I got to think, I'll be honest with you, I may not feel like most Tiger fans, half Tiger fans, I don't know, but football doesn't do it for me like basketball does. And I think that's that Memphis roots, that it is a basketball city. You know, when the Tigers basketball team is doing really well, then I'm excited. Really excited. You know, like that's my sport. I would consider, you know, attending those games, you know, and being in that environment and just keeping up with them every single game. For football, it's just not quite like that for me. I'm enjoying the success. It's amazing seeing us on national TV in all these games. But it's not quite like basketball. And I'll be honest with you, really, it's because of the playoff system to me. College basketball has the best playoffs in the history of sports in the universe ever. And March Madness, if you get in that tournament, that's one of the most exciting things that I think you could possibly be involved in as a sports fan. What do you think, Dan? Given your teams in a big bowl, not national championship bowl, but just in a big bowl, or playing in the NCAA tournament, which one's more exciting to you?
Yeah, it's something that I've just recently been able to kind of enjoy. The Colorado Buffaloes, I like their football and basketball team. Their basketball team has made the tournament, not last year, but the previous years. They haven't actually won a game in advance. But yeah, that when their seedings come out, you're kind of glued to where they're going to be, who they're going to play.
Selection Sunday. That's another huge thing. That's a huge day in the sports world, honestly. I mean, it may seem like a small thing, but it's a huge day in the sports world, Selection Sunday.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've been filling out brackets in the NCAA tournament since I was probably 6-7 years old. So it kind of goes back. Then you didn't even know who it was, but you just picked the teams, and just the excitement of a 13 beating a 4 or anything like that. It's just special. And with the bowl games, it's kind of different because your star player, if he's going to be in the draft, he might not even play. I'm going to rest and work towards my NFL career. So it's kind of like, I watched you all season. You helped this team get here, and now you're not going to play for it. And just the college football bowl system, as you said, they have the playoff now, but it's only 4 teams when it really would work better with at least 8. And then the minuscule bowls like the Potato Bowl and the mashed potato bowl and then the sweet potato bowl. I mean, it gets a little bit much after a while. So does it really even mean anything besides money for those programs?
Yep. It's just always been, I'm like you, probably about the same age, Dan, about 6 or 7, been filling out NCAA brackets. And every single year, and I'll be honest, through most of my life, the Tigers, a good chunk of that have been involved in it. It's a painful feeling when they're not, when there's no chance they're even going to be in Selection Sunday. It almost puts a damper on the tournament a little bit. For me anyway, but love the success of the football team. It's very exciting for sure for football, but there's been some miracle things happen in play to play this role. Number 1 was Justin Fuente, then 2 was Paxton Lynch and some other guys along the way. Now you got like Riley Ferguson and Anthony Miller coming out of nowhere, walk on from Memphis. Now he's looking at NFL hype. So
he will get his name. He's going to hear his name called in the draft. I haven't done a lot of scouting on him, but I've watched a couple Memphis games, and I mean, he's for real. He looks fantastic.
He does it all. He's just a playmaker, man. He's all over the field. He can do whatever, and he's a playmaker. And Riley Ferguson, man, watch out for him. What do you think about his next level prospects, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely came from a guy that I didn't even know existed. Their UCLA game, he kind of got put on the map a little bit, and I watched some of their game last week. 2 rushing touchdowns. I mean, he's mobile in the pocket, so I think he's going to continue to rise draftwards. He's only a junior, though, right?
I think so, because I don't remember if he redshirted or not. The whole reason he got to Memphis is because he was beat out by Josh Dobbs, who was in the NFL, or at least was. I don't know if he still is or not. Who's he play for? Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh, yep. Yeah, he's their backup. So, yeah, I mean, he's probably a redshirt junior, so he could come out or he could stay another season. So it'll be interesting to see what he decides, see how Memphis finishes. If he's finishing, on that kind of high, do you risk staying in school and lowering that draft stock or coming out, at its peak? So that'll be one of the interesting names to see, when declarations get made.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's just a junior. Confirming now, but I think Anthony Miller is a senior.
Yeah, Miller is a senior. Yep.
So, but yeah, because that was kind of a shock. And I'm showing that Ferguson is a senior as well. But
yes,
when Miller came back this year, it was kind of a surprise too, because I think he could have gone last year, or maybe someone told him that, or else it wouldn't have been consideration. But he came back to school, and man, they got one of the top offenses in the NCAA. So I am thankful for Mike Norvell. I'm thankful for Tom Bowen, that Memphis AD, for making that great hire and hang in there, Tom. We're going to get this Tubby Smith thing going right. It may take a minute. Did you watch the Memphis game the other night, Dan?
They played New Orleans last night, right?
Right.
I was keeping up with the score. They had a pretty sizable lead in the first half, so they better have won that, right?
Yeah, they did end up finishing that one off, but it's kind of up and down. But give it time, man. Give it time. There's like 11 players on that team that hadn't played Division I basketball until 3 games ago. So you just take that for what it's worth. It's going to take time. But I'm thankful for all that, and thankful for you guys for checking us out on the Thanksgiving edition every single week, despite your busy schedule. If you're checking it out, we really appreciate it. It's going to be a big week for us, because if you're taking the time out during all this Thanksgiving holiday festivities and football and all that going on to watch our show, we really appreciate it. So thanks, guys. So what we're going to do next is we're going to follow up to the trade controversy from last week with some comments and quotes from you guys and discuss it. You are listening to and watching My Fantasy Podcast from MyFantasySportsTalk.com. I am Brandon Reed, a little bit under the weather. That is Dan the Shark, just a little bit lower under the Buffalo weather.
Yeah, there's no comment needed for that.
Okay, sorry, I just wanted you to talk for a minute.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Cough.
All right, so let me pull this up. So last week, the trade, guys, between myself and Ryan Thomas, the big trade, Tom Brady, Leonard Fournette, Corey Davis, and Mike Wallace originally was going to be what he was giving up for Matt Ryan, Alshon Jeffrey, Isaiah Crowell, and Greg Olsen. From me, several conspirators in the league decided that was an unfair trade for whatever reason and vetoed it. Well, somehow we got up to 4 vetoes, which is all that's needed in our league to nix a trade altogether. It didn't take really but about an hour. It was very quickly. So I'm a little bit suspicious of this. But anyway, the trade was denied. So I put a lot of heat on our commissioner, Dan Schalk, last week. We talked about it, hashed it all out. The trade actually did go through a somewhat version of the trade. Basically, all the key parts are still in the trade that went through. We dumped Mike Wallace from the trade, but that was what was going to happen anyway. So we did get this. We snuck the trade through at like 3 a.m. in the morning. Not that I was up, that's just when it processed, but the trade did go through to update all you folks. So, but appreciate all the questions and comments. So when these were submitted though, Dan, folks didn't know the trade actually went through. That's the surprise. That's your Thanksgiving surprise. We did sneak the trade through. So the trade actually gone through now. Those players swapped. But the folks didn't know that when submitting these comments, right, Dan?
Yeah. And I mean, this was, this got a lot of our listeners pretty fired up, this trade and the whole veto system. We had a lot of people, a lot of listeners not submit questions, but just comments on the trade because you had asked them to in the episode. And I mean, yeah, we got a firestorm of comments, and we pulled some of them to kind of share them with everybody. But yeah, it was definitely a hot topic this week on the show.
So to update, the trade, it did go through, like I said, but it didn't go through till after this Sunday, and I snuck by a win this Sunday. So Dan, I'm coming. I'm telling you, I don't know what the numbers look like right now. I don't even want to know, but I play our own Orlando Torres this week, who is one game below me. So this game really could be for last place the podcast for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked this week. I think I lost last week. So my team isn't doing too well right now either, but there's a whole bunch of players vying for like the last 2 to 3 playoff spots. So it's gonna come down to the wire. These last, I think this week and next week might be the end of it, but it's going to be a tightly, highly contested race.
I hope to be a part of it, just like last year, because all I want is in. That's all I want. All I want is in. Then look out. But that'd be a success for me anyway. So the trade went down. But before you guys knew the trade went down, what your thoughts were on the trade being vetoed? First comment comes from McKinley Johns. I hate vetoes. It's like banging out your sister. Let it pass. So I can't make that correlation. I mean, it's weird. I mean, I don't know that it's like that at all.
I do not have a sister, so I don't know exactly.
I don't have a sister either, but I mean, I can't correlate the two. But anyway, let it pass.
Okay.
But I'm with him. I hate vetoes. That's for sure.
I agree, McKinley. It went through. Calm down.
Oh man. So that's how we started all. I hate vetoes. It's like banging out your sister. All right. The next comment comes from Bill Brown. So if I'm gathering everything straight, that Thomas guy proposed that deal to you. Is he an idiot? I would have vetoed that ish too. Bill Brown. Is this your alias for this week, Dan? This sounds like something you wanted to tell Thomas Take.
No, but we actually did get a lot of Thomas Take hate. Well, maybe not hate, but calling him dumb for proposing, because he was the one. That's how it supposedly all started. He was the one that proposed this to you. So you were just an innocent bystander who was going to easily accept this deal. So that's
all the pieces were there. I liked it. I looked it over and I had liked it what I'd seen,
So, I mean, this guy obviously thinks it wasn't as fair, so he's with the veto system. But, yeah, I mean, we definitely had our fair share of Thomas Take hate this week with his supposed fantasy knowledge that is obviously lacking, it seems.
So everybody obviously thought for the most part that I was getting the better end of the deal.
You did win that deal. Yeah, I'm happy for you. But
we think. Okay, like I told you, Tom Brady is sure to go down any week now.
Okay,
any single week now. And Leonard Fournette, I don't know. I mean, at what point do they put him on the shelf? I don't know. They're still in the playoff hunt, but I don't know.
They're going to win that division.
They just might. That's how my confidence is in the Titans right now. But okay, so. Yeah, that was Bill Brown's comment. We got more. Next one comes from Mike LaFollette from last week. Thanks for answering my question. Last week, I got to say, vetoing that trade is rough news, especially for Brandon. Seems decently fair enough that you guys actually thought those players would help you out. So I totally agree with Mike. I don't think it was an unfair trade at all. That's not up for the league. The pieces matched up. So it's not up to the league to decide that the trade is unfair. So, man, I don't know. That was rough for me. I'm glad to have got the trade, but I wish if we could improve anything about the process is that I wish the trades would go through instantly. I don't know what this 5-6 day waiting period is. We got to get rid of that. Submit it. Yes.
It sounds like you want to be the commissioner next year.
We could have dual commissionerships. How about that?
That's
checks
fine.
And balances.
I don't want it anymore. I've
the harassment I get from you throughout the season is enough. You take it. You're the commissioner next year. All right. So Nick Pertins, make it happen.
I don't know that I want that responsibility on me. I've been there before.
Don't. It's not fun.
So let me be on your board of advisors then. Let me just advise you on, and I'm not going to give you any slack. I'm just going to, hey, Dan, do this, do that. Everything is cool. And we'll keep the rest in check.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've had, and this is behind the scenes, but I've had multiple owners message me and get at me this season about the schedule and the scheduling. And it's like, I didn't have anything to do with the schedule. That's ESPN. They created it. It's like,
they think you sit down week by week. Well, I think I would like Colby to play Malachi on week 9. That would be insane.
Yeah, so I've dealt with it all this year. Multiple trades and people not liking it, vetoes, all that, and then scheduling, which is automatically created in the computer system. I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I'm sorry, Dan. I only get at you about the big things, seriously. Like mega trades not working in my favor. Give me a break. Okay. Here's another let it pass from Angelo Lighty. If someone is that stupid to offer it, let it pass.
Words of wisdom there.
Let it be from Angelo Lighty. So let it pass. I agree again. Okay. Just listening to that trade offer wants me to join your league next year. Just listening to the trade offer wants me to join your league next year. So circle this guy, Dan. It's Zimantas Pazovikas.
That's pretty damn good. That was a good job there, Brandon. What did you like write this down and do the little practice saying it before? Because I had no idea how to say that.
No, I'm a soccer fan.
Interesting. Okay. Is that a soccer player?
No. I'm just most soccer players, the greatest variety anyway, are not American. You got to learn how to pronounce a lot of different crazy names.
All right. Well, he's circled into the league next year. We do allow, fans to join the league. So look out on the Facebook page. We send out, the invites for, a select number of guys to join the league. So I think we had about 5 or 6 this year join us in our 14-man league. So you play about eight of our writers, and obviously, the former champ, New Breeds, and the future champ, myself. So you'll get some competition. So we'll take it.
I'm about to hand over the belt, huh? I'm pass that ring off to you, Dan. But to kind of sum up here, what Zimantas was saying, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right too, Zimantas Pazovikas. But just listen to that trade offer. Wants me to join your league next year, so I'm kind of thinking what he is saying is that Thomas Take dude dumb too.
Oh yeah, that's definitely that was the hidden message, and hence why we read it, because every dig at Thomas Take that we can take. Well, that I can take, I do, and I enjoy it.
No, I don't think he really wanted this trade 100%, Dan. Because he was very nervous right before it went down. Texting me, calling me. I got email messages. So he was very nervous about it. But like I said, okay, if I'm getting Tom Brady, if you watch, Matt Ryan's not been the most impressive. Tom Brady, I think, had 31 last week. And I'm getting a Leonard Fournette, which has been dealing with an ankle injury, but he's still Leonard Fournette. If he still gets the carries, he's going to be a pretty solid play. So, but what I keep saying, guys, is none of us know. I'm one step away from a Tom Brady injury, and the whole thing comes crashing down. Then, so I may look good now. Here's another thing. Say you're Kareem Hunt. He ain't looking so good now. I mean, he's getting to the point now you might want to start about thinking starting someone else over him. Dan, his numbers are getting bad.
Yeah, I think I'm loyal to my guys. I'm going to ride them out. I actually got offered a pretty decent trade for him this week by Casey Birch, who just absolutely loves to offer trades. They're usually absolutely ridiculous, but this one was decent. It was actually, I don't even remember who it was, but it was P. Ryan and another running back for Hunt, and it was pretty even. But it was 2 players for my one, and I have so much depth, I don't know who to play each week anyways. So I'm going to roll out Hunt every week, and I still have the number 1 and number 2 fantasy running backs on my team. So I'm going to keep those guys in there and ride to the championship.
Yep, Todd Gurley. I think if I had it all over to do again, I probably would have went Todd Gurley number 1 overall. If I would have had the overall number 1 pick. Would you say, Dan? Is he the number 1 pick if you had to do it all over again? I mean, he was number 1 in fantasy. I really don't know. Outside quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I don't think anybody after his terrible sophomore year last year, in his second season. I mean, I got him at a value.
And with Zeke being gone now, we know at least for 6 games.
Right. Yeah. And
no David Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, and knowing that David Johnson would be hurt, yeah, probably. I mean, he would definitely be up there. He wouldn't slip past top 5, I wouldn't say.
Yep. Antonio Brown, I don't know. Is he beasting out? I mean, he's had some games. He had some beast out games against the Titans recently. But yeah, because he's been the most consistent, banger every single week. So I think if I had it all over, that's what I would probably go if I had to redraft. But so the trade does go through, guys. Thanks for all the comments and questions about the trade, and thanks for listening to us last week go over all that mess. And maybe we'll see a dual commissionership going forward. But the trade went through. We'll see how it goes from here. Next, we're going to jump into those mailbag questions, just a whole deep stocking full of them. Get to it next. You're listening to and watching My Fantasy Podcast from MyFantasySportsTalk.com. Brandon Reed and Dan Schalk here on the Thanksgiving Giving Back episode to you guys. Talking straight up to the peeps, Dan, the podcast peeps. Just me and you. Just the two of us.
And we are not contagious.
Not via the podcast. If we were in the same room with you, I don't know. I can't make any promises, but via the podcast, via the interwebs and your gigabytes, then you're safe. You're safe. That's what I was told. So it's got to be true. First question comes from our man, Nick Pertins, to kick off the show. What up, Nick? So we've got a comment about last week and then an actual question from Nick. So here goes the comment. Brandon, thanks for the shout out as always. I must say I feel sorry for Dan being the commissioner in that league where the trade went down or didn't go down. It's not on him to control the stupidity of your league mates. If I'm in the league or I'm in a league with Judy, we have a league-wide veto vote, but it has to receive more than half the votes. Half the league has to vote for it to actually be vetoed. 4 is just way too little. So that being said, you got freaking hosed. The trade should have gone through, but you are the huge winner, hands down. I guess he's talking to me. If that original trade would have went down, which I guess we're all kind of agreeing that I would have got the better of it. But so this is interesting, Dan. This is what I kind of may have hit on it last week, but it's okay with the veto, but 4 is just way too many because you got enough. We're in a 14-team league. 7 guys wouldn't even have kept up with this to even vote at all.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense. I don't know if I just kind of glazed over it when I was setting up the league, but yeah, I completely agree. 4 is too tiny, and it needs probably 1 more than half is what I would think so probably actually 8 instead of just 7 is the way it would work.
Yeah, in a 14-team league. But the only thing is that I think you have to put a time frame on it because my only thing with making trades is I want them to go through immediately because I got to start rebuilding my team. I can't wait till Sunday morning because even if a trade goes through, that doesn't mean I'm not having to make more moves to construct that team after the trade. So that's why I want the trade to go down immediately, like at least within 24 hours. So it's tricky. It's tricky. To call that, but yeah, I agree. We'd probably up that. I don't know how it got set to 4, but that's hard. And the 20 acquisitions is hard too, Dan. I surpassed that limit this week. So I mean, if Austin Hooper goes down, guys, I'm without a tight end the rest of the year.
Oh man, I hope that happens, and I hope you make the playoffs. Play me in like the second round in Austin Hooper.
Well, that's fine, but you know what's going to happen, Dan? I'm telling you, we're going to announce it on the podcast coming soon. Tom Brady goes down, so I'm without a quarterback the rest of the year.
Do you have a backup?
No.
Oh, that hurts. Yeah.
My backup was my
Brissett
starter.
is available for Leonard Fournette if you want.
I can't make any acquisitions.
You can trade.
I can't. When's the deadline?
I don't know if there is one.
Oh, okay. No, there's only 2 weeks left in the season. So it's do or die now. But anyway, yeah, I need the trades to go down. Pronto, buddy. Pronto. I got moves to make.
Get New Breed's list out. I'm just writing it here. Okay.
Christmas is coming up.
Item number 87. New Breed's fantasy football Christmas list. There we go. All right.
There we go. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. But Nick's question is, on to my question, non-football related. Mike Conley, Achilles injury worries the hell out of me. He hasn't looked right all season, and we've managed well so far, but come March and April, we need him. Are you as worried as me he might not come back at full strength this whole season? Nick Perkins. I'm more worried about how the Grizzlies are playing right now, Nick. I'm with you, and we're kind of left in the dark right now about the Achilles injury. It could be 2 weeks, 4 weeks. It could be January. It could be after the All-Star break. I don't really know. Whatever's best for Mike, then do that. But even when Mike was healthy and playing and still playing, the team was still in a gelling process. We just got JaMychal Green back. I don't know. I guess the smart thing to do is doing what they're doing and bringing Tyreek off the bench because he's been killing. But he's obviously one of the best scorers and players you got on the team. That to me is a starter, even if it means the bench minutes suffering. But we're still trying to work all that out. Ben McLemore just came back, and Brandon Wright got hurt again. It's just. We're still trying to work it out, but I'm a lot more worried about right now, Nick, than really the future is in being full strength at any point in the season, because it may be over for us by the All-Star break if we don't start really playing it together. We got to beat some of these teams, like starting with Dallas. We shouldn't have let Portland just dominate us on our home floor like that. So I'm more worried about the now than long-term with Conley. I want him to be back 100% when he does because, man, he's a good dude, and I can't stand seeing him miss action because he's the catalyst and heart of our team. But 5-game losing streak, Dan.
That's rough. I haven't kept up with the Grizzlies lately as much. I did hear about the Conley injury. And that's always tough because him and Gasol are kind of the lifeblood of that team from an outsider's perspective. I mean, it's basically them. You have all those other pieces. Obviously, Tyreek is playing great, but it's not. Without Mike Conley, the Grizzlies are kind of where do they fit in the Western Conference, especially in such a deep conference. So they started out strong, kind of fading now. It'll be interesting to say. And say they are close to a playoff spot or anything. It's not like this team is the type of team to make a deal at the deadline. It doesn't seem like to get that guy to get them or keep them into the postseason, because they have that postseason streak going where they've been in there seemingly every year for the last decade, right?
Oh man, it's 7 or 8 seasons, I think. I can't remember in a row, but what is scary about this is because what I've heard, and now, oh my God, it's looking like it might get on. First of all, we got to start beating the teams we should be beating. Like I said, shouldn't let Portland dominate us at home. They're a good quality team, but shouldn't let them control us at home. Got to beat Dallas tonight. Got to beat the teams that we should beat, but the schedule is going to get a little rough for us coming up. The thing is, what I've heard, and this was worst case scenario even going into the season, that there's teams interested in Marc Gasol. So if the whole thing is just blown up by the All-Star break, it might be Marc Gasol they're looking to deal.
Well, as long as they package Chandler Parsons' contract in with that, then I think you might see a little silver lining over the horizon. But I mean, Gasol, he's getting up there in age, but he's still got a couple of years prime time left. I mean, the way he's playing this year was surprising, but he's still, he still has it.
Yeah, he definitely still has it. And the Chandler contract, yeah, if we can only get rid of that. But the thing is, I think Mark's value is the highest now. So if you're going to get, solid pieces in return that could still elevate you and propel you to the playoffs, like top tier guys, you probably need to sell now. His value is the highest. So you could get a high mid-level tier player. It's a tough call to make. But yeah, man, I'm a little worried, Nick. I'm a little worried just because I need the chemistry to start getting together, because I think we have the pieces. They just got to all come together and stay healthy all at the same time. And I think you'll see more of what the first half of the season's Grizzlies look like than this last 5 games. So appreciate the questions and comment and watching and listening every week, Nick and Judy. Next one comes from Dwayne Williams. Going to bounce onto football. Zeke is supposed to come back by week 16 in my championship league of my fantasy football league. Is he worth trading for? I've been offered Zeke, but I have to give up Carlos Hyde and Rod Smith. Is that a good move? I'm 10-1 and dominating my league. From Dwayne. So Dwayne is 10-1. He says dominating his league. He has Carlos Hyde and Rod Smith. Should he trade those pieces for Ezekiel Elliott coming back in the very last week? Dan?
It's kind of tough. I mean, I liked this question when it was submitted. And my first thought was, yeah, I would take Zeke for that championship game. Now, obviously, you have to get there first. So the way I looked at it, if you're 10-1 dominating your league, you're not dominating your league because of Carlos Hyde and Rod Smith. So you probably have other pieces on your team that are kind of carrying you. So you're trading Rod Smith, who's not going to do anything for you. He's probably not in your starting lineup. Probably a waiver wire pickup when Zeke was going through his suspension. And Carlos Hyde, RB2 flex play. I mean, so as long as you have some depth to kind of get you through that, and you're very confident you're going to get to that championship game, I'd say go for it. But there's always that if, because if you lose, in the playoffs before your championship game, you're not going to be able to reap those rewards of Zeke. So it's definitely a risk, but it's probably a risk I would be willing to take.
And Dwayne, start analyzing this with the Cowboys' record maybe at that time and whether or not they would even play Zeke much if he did come back and who the competition is that week. I don't know, Dan. Who do you know who the Cowboys play? I'm thinking week 16 for him would be
the Giants.
The week 16
Giants.
matchup. Okay. I don't know, Dan. What do you think? That Giants defense ain't quite what it should be. Ain't quite what they used to be.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like the matchup, but yeah, I mean, what you said, if their record, if they lose, if they're not in the playoff hunt, why bring him back for the last 2 weeks? I mean, it's not worth an ACL injury in December where he's not going to come back, the next season. So there's a lot of risk there. It just depends if you want to take that risk, if you're a gambler or not. So,
or the game could come down to meeting the division and he needs to get 220 yards,
Yep. Yeah, so there's multiple ways to look at it. I would tend to do it to, Cowboys fan aside. I just like if you think your team is going to get you there, I don't think you're relying on those pieces that you're giving up to get him, so I would go for it.
Yep, that's a risk, man. I just don't know. There's so much to play out that you just don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. But I'm kind of with you, Dan. I don't really know that you're giving up much. Rod Smith means nothing to me fantasy value-wise. And I haven't heard a peep from Carlos Hyde this year. I mean, as far as I know, the guy Breida was supposed to be getting a lot of carries and taking touches from him all season. But that kind of situation's all been blown up mid-season anyway. So I don't have any faith in that, especially for a team that's not going anywhere this year. They're probably going to put Carlos Hyde on the shelf soon if they're not thinking about that already. No need to play him.
Yeah, that's a good point. They're gonna hit.
Right. The kitty agrees.
Yeah, she does, and that is a good point. Breida has been stealing a lot of Hyde's touches, and towards the end of the year, they're probably just going to chuck in their young guys and see what they got, and they know what they have in Hyde. There's no reason to play him down the stretch.
Yep, and he would probably agree at this point, especially when you get just a couple more weeks deeper into the season when it gets long and you're getting beat up. So appreciate the question. Next one comes from Colin Robinson. Is Doug Martin droppable? I want to drop him for Perine. I would say, man, I don't know. I looked at Doug Martin's numbers, but I don't remember what they are offhand. But that's something I'm not really having much hesitation saying for Perine. Sure, yeah, go for it. Basically, if you're switching those players, if you're asking me if you can switch those players and be all right, then I think so.
Yeah, I agree with you. Perine's upside right now is so much higher than Doug Martin's. Tampa Bay can't really run block for anybody. Their offense is kind of anemic. So Perine's the main guy. I mean, Rob Kelly is hurt. Chris Thompson's out for the year. So it's,
Kelly's on IR. He's gone too. I had to drop him.
Oh, he's IR too. So yeah. So he's the main guy. There's literally nobody else. I think they signed somebody off of the Eagles practice squad who's supposed to get some touches, but it's Perine's show. They drafted him to ultimately take the role. So if that's who you're dropping him for, yeah, without a doubt, I'd do it.
Yep. I completely agree. And there's a guy, and he's on Orlando's bench because I was looking for him the other day. And I tried to offer Orlando a pretty decent trade from him a few weeks back. And looking back at it, it's probably a pretty sweet deal. But now he's on Orlando's bench. He could be on the end of my bench. But yeah, I agree. I would rather have P. Ryan right now. And sure, I guess Martin's droppable. But also depends on your team makeup and what position you are in the league and all sorts of things like that. But yeah, P. Ryan's the only one left for the Redskins. So appreciate the question. All right, next one comes from Robert Ivina. I have a good problem. Should I play Jags defenses versus Arizona or the Eagles defense versus Chicago? Well, I'll start real quick, Dan, because I'm a Jags defense owner. Love them boys. Been doing work all season long. They're just a scoring defense, man. They're good. They're very good. So I'll take them over the Eagles, which the Eagles have been doing great as well this year. But Jags, Arizona, Eagles, Chicago, I'm probably still wrong with the Jags right now.
Yeah, I'm going to go opposite with you. I just like the matchup a little bit better. That Eagles front seven against the Bears offensive line, which isn't that great, and a rookie quarterback. I expect them to pressure Trubisky a lot. He's going to turn the ball over on more than one occasion. So I like the Eagles matchup this week. Arizona looked decent last week against Houston. I mean, Blaine Gabbert, he put together a solid preseason. I actually watched a lot of Cardinals preseason games. He looked good.
It was Houston, though. They're a shell of themselves.
That is true. I mean, they're no Jags, and I mean the Jags defense is
they're a scoring defense.
The Jags defense reminds me a lot of the 2013 Seahawks. When they rode them to the Super Bowl. I'm not hating on the Jags defense at all.
I got you. Rookie quarterback. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. So, and how my rookie, if you guys listened to the show last week when we had that streaming defense question, I said those Chargers, and they picked off Nate Peterman 5 times in the first half.
Okay, so let's just put a bookmark in the questions real quick, Dan. Oh my God, because I've been wanting to talk to someone this for days since it happened. But I need someone close to the situation like you guys and Thomas Tate. What the hell? I mean, that's got to be the all-time worst start to an NFL career ever. He threw 5 interceptions in his first 9 NFL passes. And now Tyrod is back in place. What the hell?
I mean, I found it funny after he threw one, and I chuckled a little bit after he threw his second one. But then literally when they kept adding up on every single drive that the Bills were going on in the first half, I started to feel very bad for Nathan Peterman. I mean, it was a rough situation. The Bills fans have been insane this week and ever since it happened. Whether they're playing the race card, saying the Bills benched Tyrod because he's black. That's obviously the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. But it's definitely being said quite a bit. Ultimately, the Bills probably don't have their franchise guy on the roster. Nathan Peterman, I think he's going to be a solid pro, maybe a career backup, but he's a 5th-round pick. You can't expect him to do too much. And
does he get a shot again?
Probably, yeah. I wouldn't. He still worked with the first team this week, even though they were playing Tyrod and said they were starting Tyrod. Nathan Peterman took first-team reps in every single practice. So
I don't think I would even do that. I just first half. We're only talking about the first half here. 5 picks in his first 9 NFL passes. He threw 9 times and got picked 5. I couldn't do that. I don't think I could do that if I tried.
Yeah, it's definitely bad. But yeah, I think he'll get another shot probably later in the year once the Bills are out of playoff contention. I can see them going back to Peterman, but the fan base is all mixed and mashed, and they don't really know. You could talk to one person, say one thing, the other person say another. It's a mess right now. And to think that a couple weeks ago, people were calling for the Bills' playoff curse or playoff drought to end, and that this is a legitimate team. It's clearly not. I mean, their offensive line couldn't block Joey Bosa. I don't know if you heard them mic'd up, but Joey Bosa was mic'd up in that game. And on one of the plays where he went to Peterman, hit him, and Peterman threw an interception, Bosa came up and saying, "They're not even attempting to block me. They're not even trying to block me. That guy didn't block me." I mean, the line was so bad. There's people saying that the line was doing it on purpose to get Tyrod back in the game. So there's a whole bunch of stories being flown around, but ultimately it's the same. It's the Bills. They're not going to make the playoffs, so they're just going to have to rebuild in the draft, and they have a bunch of picks to do so.
Yeah. Their slide is continuing, just like the other team I predicted, Dan. Kansas City Chiefs. You seen that? I mean, their slide was for real.
I have breaking news for you on the Chiefs if you want to hear it right here on the podcast.
Yes,
They have signed Darrell Revis.
No way.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. Yeah. I mean, Eric Berry went down early for the year. They've suffered through some injuries, a little banged up, but just hadn't been themselves. But man, they always do that. They always freaking do that. But did you see that coming? I'm sure no one picked the Giants on our Pick'ems piece.
Nope. No, and it sucks too, because honestly, I pick the Giants every other week. I've picked the Giants so much this year, and they've let me down obviously a ton of times. And the 1 week I don't pick them, they pull the upset. But here's the thing: get Kareem Hunt the ball a little bit more. I mean, when he goes 10 to 12 touches a game, you got to get him more carries. That's just not. It's not just me as a fantasy owner.
Yeah,
in
sounds like
multiple
a
leagues. But I'm serious. You just get the guy the ball a little bit more. Do it.
Yeah, man, I don't know what that was all about. I would have never predicted that in 100 times. Never, never, never. Because they were even without Sterling Shepard, who was hurt on my bench. So I never would have guessed it. But they did pull off the upset. The Chiefs slide. Here we go. But I'm saying Jags defense. Dan is saying Eagles defense. I think you're good either way. Just maybe keep up it. Here's the deciding factor. Why don't you do this? Just keep up with it the day before and see whose offense is the most banged up or hurt or playing the most inexperienced guys, which I guess it's harder to get more inexperienced than a rookie quarterback, Trubisky. But he's played several games now, so he's got his feet wet for sure. But you're good. I think you're good either way. I got the Jags, so I'm a little bit biased on there. Appreciate the question. Robert Avina. Next one is from Ryan Garnett. Dan, I had to drop you a note. Your college basketball previews on the site are kick ass, man. Literally no one covers the mid-majors like you guys, and quite frankly, you won me quite a bit of money. Your Canisius Youngstown preview was on spot. Not sure if you knew that, but I bet $100 on the spread, -6 Canisius, and obviously won big. And previously, I took your advice against and bet Montana +14 against Penn State and won that too. I would split it with you, but nah, man, keep it up. Love you, Ryan Garnett. So it doesn't get much more loving than that. He actually said, I love you, Dan.
Yeah.
But I agree. I agree with Ryan, man. I don't know what you've been doing. I don't know how you're keeping up with all this. I'm a huge college basketball fan, but I can't produce it like you do. And I need to start laying down some wagers on your pieces too. I'm that close to the money.
Yeah. I mean, I love this note. Thank you, Ryan. It definitely brought a smile to my Thanksgiving week. I'm a weird college basketball fan. Like a lot of college basketball fans like those top programs, the Dukes, the North Carolinas. I don't. What I love about college basketball is the mid-majors, the middle to lower level programs, and watching them play basketball. I mean, obviously, I'm credentialed with Canisius, so that's given me some insight into that prediction that you referenced with their Youngstown game. They were only a 6-point favorite, and they ended up winning by 20. So it's just some things that you start to look at. And doing the previews, I've been able to do a lot of research on the mid-majors, the players, the stats, and different things like that. So I'm busting out probably 8 to 10 a day. I try to. And not what I've noticed is not a lot of other sites, like you mentioned, kind of cover it. So, college basketball, if it's a long-lasting sport throughout many months. So it's something I want to continue to do. And it's just honestly, it's fun more than just the top level programs, but those mid majors that you referenced I just like watching those type games and learning about those kind of teams, because that's honestly to me the best basketball that you see played. It's all team. It's not usually just one guy taking over, shooting, doing it like that. So it's something I enjoy, and I thank you, Ryan, for the message.
Well, I think it's what you're close to, too, Dan. You're closer to those programs, and so it's what you're involved in. It's what you're enamored by, so to speak. And it's kind of the same thing with me being in sort of a college town here in Jonesboro with Arkansas State. It is a college town. Everything revolves around the college, and it is one of those mid-major schools. And only up until recently have they got much football prominence, and still waiting to take that turn in basketball. The women's basketball team's been good, really good women's volleyball team, and some other teams, but that's what you get enamored with. You get enamored with the competition. Your Louisiana Techs and all the teams that are actually in your league, and the Troys, who Arkansas State's going to be playing soon. So that's the big game. That's the big game for Arkansas State. It's the Troy. So that's just, I think that's what you're close and you're familiar with, but it's exciting. It's all exciting. I kind of agree with you. I love basketball in any form, and what you talked about. I cover a lot of high school basketball, but it's still at that point, it's the love of the game. They're playing it for the absolute love of the game and to get better at the sport, and it's just that's my favorite sport. So, but yeah, I like your live videos that you're doing from the arenas.
Yeah, that's something that I hope to continue to do. Each game with Canisius, and this is my third year, credentialed to cover them. So you kind of, what I've noticed is, guys that were freshmen the first year, you've got to see them develop their games over this, last season and this season. So over a course of 3 years, in those mid-major programs, they're not leaving for the NBA draft every year. So you get to see the actual development that the coaches make and the time that the players put in to develop their game. So with Canisius, I've been lucky to be able to see how that's transitioned for them. And it's something that I'm looking forward to covering, the rest of the season. They've had a little bit of a struggle start, 1-3 so far, but in MAC play, they're pretty dangerous. So I wouldn't be surprised if they make some noise.
Yep. So keep up with the articles and keep up with the website, all you folks. Ryan Garnett is a witness. The college basketball has been off the chain. And, man, we're right back in tournament season with everything else going on, like the Battle of Atlantis and the PK 80 tournament, Dan. There's a whole lot of holiday tournament basketball going on now.
Yeah. The Maui Invitational I was watching a little bit earlier today. Chaminade upset Cal. It's only their 8th victory since 1983 in that tournament, so that's always good to see.
They hosted it like 40 years, and, yeah, a rare win.
So and Cal brought Wichita State to the wire in a game 2 days ago. So it's weird to see, the ups and downs of college basketball. If you could be on and play a number 6th ranked Wichita State team and they ended up losing by 10, I think, but they had the lead most of the second half. And then you lose by 26 to a Chaminade Division II program. It's pretty crazy.
Let me give a shout out to, and I forgot the question submitter from last week, though. Maybe it's Gilly. I don't remember. But the question about who is the way too early sleeper in college basketball, Dan?
Yeah. They said Purdue, right?
Yeah, was that Gilly? I don't remember who that was.
I don't remember who that was, no.
But anyway, your way too early sleeper in college basketball. I had to throw another name in the hat, Creighton. Creighton came that close last night to being the only team to beat 3 ranked teams so far this season. They lost to Baylor, but they had already beaten, I forgot who the other teams were. They beat a couple ranked teams, though. I think they're sitting at 4-1. Lost to Baylor, though, but they were up a lot of that game. Just barely lost, and they would have been the only team in college basketball. I think they're only one period to have beat 2 ranked teams at that point. But that would have been the 3rd ranked team they would have beat last night if they'd beat Baylor. So kind of throwing Creighton in that list to watch out of the Big East, Dan.
I covered a couple of their previews and predictions, and I had them winning. Marcus Foster, their senior guard, is a phenomenal player, and they beat Northwestern and UCLA. Those are the two
UCLA,
they took down this year. So 2 games that we predicted on My Fantasy Sports Talk that they would win. They're definitely a good team. They're deep, talented, and the biggest thing that I look at when making a Cinderella run in the NCAA tournament is if you have senior leaders, and they have 2 in Marcus Foster, and one of their big guys is also a senior. So it's an experienced lineup that Greg McDermott has. So I'm completely with you. They're definitely going to make some noise come March.
And I think that may be one of the biggest things in college basketball now is to have that senior leadership because it's rare, especially if it's a borderline NBA talent fourth year senior type guy, then you got a superstar on your team because it just doesn't happen very often. With the one and dones, and you got some situations like Ben Simmons had in LSU who didn't even make the tournament. It was just a year. And then you have, of course, all the hype around the guys who play for the big schools like Bagley and Duke. And Michael Porter Jr., man, bad news to hear about Michael Porter Jr. He's going to have back surgery. So one of our sleepers from last week is out now. I think it takes the big dents and take a big dent to Quanzo Martin's chances anyway, with Michael Porter Jr. being out. Damn.
Yeah, that was definitely tough news for me to hear. I'm somewhat close to that program, covering them earlier in the season, but having Cassius Robertson, the Canisius guard who transferred there, so I was keeping my eye on them. That was terrible news. It's weird because it came out as leg, then a hip injury, and then he had back surgery. So it's kind of weird how that progressed. But yeah, 3 to 4 months. The question is, does he go right to the NBA now, or does he come back and show that he can still play and take that sophomore season at Missouri? It'll be interesting to see what he decides, but it definitely hurts his draft stock having back surgery because a bigger guy. He's 6'10", a big guy with a back injury is something you want to always be a little cautious about.
Yeah, so that's why I'm thinking maybe does he have to go out now before it gets worse? You go back to college, make the situation worse. Are we looking like a Greg Oden type situation where just, man, unfortunately never pans? One of the biggest guys, of course, Penny Hardaway, he had a great start to an NBA career. Was going to be a superstar in the league, just a shorter career. But DeJuan Wagner from Memphis, that he had stomach issues, intestinal issues, and that career was cut short. He was a one and doner for Memphis, and man, he was going to be a stud, and just intestinal issues, and which was not even something physically, as far as arms and legs wrong with him, just an intestinal issue, and his career was cut short. So not wishing that upon Michael Porter Jr., but it's definitely bad news for the Missouri basketball team for sure. So, well, I'm sorry, did you have something else to say, Dan?
No, it's definitely tough luck. Hopefully, and I would still say that team is pretty talented, but the SEC is so deep this year. I was watching some college basketball today, and they were saying a lot of the experts on ESPN were saying that the SEC is probably one of the most deep conferences, if not the deepest, in college basketball this year, where if you look at years past, it's always been one of the weakest ones. But they've done a great job of recruiting, and it's going to be tough to survive conference play without Michael Porter Jr. On the Tigers.
Everybody improving. Florida looking good. Alabama, which we talked about last week. Tennessee was. I didn't finish watching the game. I don't know who won, but
they beat Purdue.
They beat Purdue. Tennessee beat Purdue. So there you go. It is Arkansas. I can't forget to mention Arkansas right here in kind of my own backyard. The Razorbacks going to be good, man. They're a get up and go team, and a
couple seniors too on that team that lead the way. So yeah, I like Arkansas a lot. They're going to be ranked before you know it.
Yeah, they're already getting votes. A lot of those SEC teams are. So just give it a week or two. But yeah, there is a lot of deep talent in the SEC, and it's kind of been Kentucky that hasn't looked the sharpest anyway. Not that they've been in any trouble really. They just, but they're learning to play all over again like they always do. So we'll see what happens. But keep your eye on that SEC. Big college basketball season ahead of us. That's for sure. You're listening to and watching My Fantasy Podcast from MyFantasySportsTalk.com. We appreciate it. Thanksgiving episode giving back to you guys. Brandon Reed, Dan Schalk here, just answering this big bag of mailbag questions, working our way through it. So the next one is kind of an MVP debate, Dan. It comes from Annette Golden. Kyrie Irving MVP? Question mark. What do you think, Dan? Is he throwing himself in that conversation?
Yeah, I've definitely heard his name being called, and especially when the Celtics are, winning like they are. I think they did lose last night to a pretty bad team. But they've looked good with the Gordon Hayward injury. Kyrie has kind of led them, or been part of the biggest reason for their success. So yeah, I think you definitely throw him in there. I like your man Antetokounmpo. I think he's going to put up the numbers, and the Bucks are going to be good enough that he should deserve to get some consideration too. But I mean, it's still pretty early to be able to say MVP right now. Let's play a little bit more than a month into the season.
Yeah, I mean, he's recently been putting up big numbers. He's averaging 22.5 points, a little over 5 assists, a little over 3 boards, so not bad numbers. But I would say yes that he's in the conversation, but if he's in the conversation, then he's losing by a wide margin to the aforementioned Giannis Antetokounmpo, in my opinion. That dude's got to be the hands-down favorite right now, if we're talking about right now and projecting the end of the season, despite missing the game tonight against the last year's champ in our fantasy league. It's going to hurt me. Watch. But yeah, he's got to be a hands-down favorite to me right now. But Kyrie's definitely in the conversation. What about your pick, Dan? John Wall. You think he's in the conversation right now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where exactly the Wizards rank in the East. But he's put up solid numbers for me. I mean, I only know in terms of fantasy production of the type of putting up, but he's been good. He's been a little dinged up. He's missed a couple games. But yeah, I mean, I like how he's playing for my fantasy team. So anytime you put up fantasy type numbers, that's gonna work out pretty well. But I don't know if the Wizards are gonna be.
They're the fifth seed right now.
Yeah. So I mean, he's going to get some consideration for sure as long as he stays healthy and plays the whole year. But if it was going to come down to Irving and Wall, and the Celtics are going to have that number 1 seed, I think you would see Irving get more votes.
Okay. So let's play matchmaker real quick, or comparison, side-by-side comparison, Dan. So I read off on Kyrie's numbers, a little over 22 points per game, a little over 5 assists a game, a little over 3 boards a game. So here's John Wall. Gives up a little bit in points, 19.6, so close to 20 points per game, 9.1 assists per game, so almost twice as much, which is to be expected from John Wall. He's always been the dish guy. And then the same in rebounds, and then also a steal and a block per game. So, I mean, who's most valuable to their team?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's different ways you can look at the MVP award, as we saw last year. Russell Westbrook was the most valuable, but was he actually the most valuable in the NBA? He was most valuable to his team. So how do you look at it to describe? And we can go on and on. We went on and on last year multiple times on the podcast about MVP.
I don't feel like going on and on about it today, but
yeah, I don't either. So, it
was the right choice, though.
All right. Well, anyways, I'm gonna just forget I heard that. So it all depends how you look at it. Let's play a little bit more than a month to fully decide, but they're both in the in the running early on.
Yep, I guess the landscape has changed because when you had Steph Curry and Kevin Durant joining forces, and then even like Chris Paul with who's entered the conversation in years past. He's an elite point guard. He's one of those guys. He's an NBA superstar. Have him joining with James Harden, and then you got the mega trio in Oklahoma City with Paul George and Russ Westbrook, which Paul George and Russell Westbrook were both MVP caliber conversation guys. So when you got all those guys joining forces, that completely changed the conversation, don't you think, Dan? Because now you're looking at the John Walls or the Kyrie Irvings now standing alone, and guys like that, and Giannis Antetokounmpo in Milwaukee. You're looking at guys like that now because the really elite guys have joined forces so much that it's hard to give it to one or the other, so you just don't.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You can't, on the Warriors, if Kevin Durant won it, you would kind of look, well, Steph Curry's there. He kind of helped them through the way. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of the lead dogs on those teams that don't have the multiple superstars that are going to, I think, step ahead of those better players that are playing with each other.
I like what James Harden's still doing. He's still beasting out. So that was my pick for MVP. Well, we'll see what happens. Okay, so there's kind of your MVP conversation. Kyrie in the conversation. Yeah, he traded himself into the conversation. He really did. LeBron's always there. LeBron's there. Just the Cavs are really struggling right now. So, all right. Thanks, Annette. Next question comes from Skull, Tobacco Man. Can Case Keenum win you a playoff game, Dan?
That defense can win you playoff games. I don't know if you had to put the rock in Case Keenum's arm and hand if he would throw you a playoff victory. I think he can be a contributing factor, but if you need him to be the main man, no, I don't think he can do that. But the way that whole Vikings team is and how they have that defense, how they have playmakers on the outside, how they have a decent running game, I think all that combination, you can see Case Keenum win playoff games, but I don't think it would be solely because of him.
No, I definitely wouldn't, but kind of like a Rex Grossman situation from a few years back when he kind of rode the Bears defense and Urlacher and those guys.
Yeah, and I think Keenum is better than Rex Grossman. So
I do too. I really do.
Yep. He's kind of in that. I look at him. I mean, they don't play the same way, but the way they won a championship is kind of like Brad Johnson. Brad Johnson with the Bucks. He had some great games. He could easily throw you a 300-yard game if need be with 3 touchdowns. There was other games where he didn't need to do that, and he would throw you $150 and one. So the Vikings aren't in a bad position with Case Keenum as quarterback as they hold on to that NFC North lead.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's not putting up some bad numbers. He had a bad game against Baltimore, had 5, but last week, 20, week before that, 27. He's had a 33-point game this year, so it's capable. It's there. He got a lot of team games. So it's kind of up and down, but at this point, I think, don't you think kind of the pressure's off? Because for a while there, it was Sam Bradford in and out. Just, I don't know, we're kind of looking over your shoulder until Bradford was done for sure. With Teddy Bridgewater coming back too, I don't know. Is it Keenum's job the rest of the year? I mean, as good as they are, I mean, what are they, 9-2, 8-2, 9-2?
Yeah, I think they're 8-2. But yeah, I mean, Zimmer finally gave him a full vote of confidence, saying this is Case Keenum's team this week. So that was good to see. So yeah, I mean, they're sticking with him, and he's their guy moving forward for the rest of the year.
So in our league, he's averaging 13.9, so right at 14. Only owned 36% of ESPN leagues. Kind of surprised there. But I don't know. I think there's other encompassing. Like I said, he had a 33-point game, so he's very capable of putting up some big numbers. He had 369 yards in that game. Was that that's probably against the Patriots? Well, it sounds like it was against the Patriots. No, it was against Tampa Bay. But he's capable. I think he's definitely capable just because of that defense. And he's got weapons. I guess he's got a decent running game to work with. To back a man. Just because he got a skull logo as his avatar, Dan?
No, I don't even remember. But maybe.
Skull. Glad you could chime in, brother. So we're saying yeah. I guess. So the last one from a Cowboys fans. I guess. No. And I don't know that Dan would agree with this. We need Orlando here. All right. So I'm sorry, did I miss it? Did you get a name on that one, Dan?
I think it was from Eagles fans and probably Cowboys fans.
Okay, so that's what we're saying it's from. Okay.
Yep.
Dak is terrible. Enough said. That's it. That's not even a question. So we don't even have a question to wrap it all up with, Dan. That's just it. Do you agree that Dak is terrible?
No, I don't think he's a terrible quarterback. I think he's coming back down to life a little bit in year 2. As he did in his rookie season, he kind of tore up, but he had everything going for him. He had that perfect running game with a running back who wasn't getting suspended. He had a healthy offensive line, including Doug Free, who retired in the offseason. That was a big thing. That doesn't get a lot of publicity, and Ronald Leary going to the Broncos. So that offensive line is only 3/5 the same this season. The defense they're playing decent, but they played better last year. So you have this whole mix of things happening in year 2 that didn't happen in year 1, and Dak is kind of coming back down to earth. I think we're seeing that he's not the type of guy that you want to rely on to throw 35 to 40 times. He needs that running game to kind of pick him up to help with the play action and kind of be able to see the field. He used to be very accurate, and he still is very accurate on the run, but he's missed some throws, but he missed them last year. I mean, I remember last year when I was on the Tony Romo please play bandwagon, I would check mark every single game, during every game, how many bad passes Dak would throw. So, I mean, I have sheets full of those. But he had the defensive running game to kind of pick him up. This year, he doesn't really have that. So you're seeing teams say, Dak beat us, and they're not able to. Or he's not able to, I should say.
Well, I didn't even really know these numbers were not so good like they are. So last week he had -2. Oh, man, I hadn't been keeping up. I mean, he had a stretch there where he had 22, 22, 29, and 32 in our fantasy league. And then he went downhill from there. It was 6 and then a 25-point game against Washington. I'm sorry, that was against Kansas City. And 13 and a -2. That's rare for a quarterback really to have a negative game these days, Dan. I mean, especially if you play the whole game.
Yeah, against Philly last week, he did things that I've never seen Dak do. He kind of pulled the Tony Romo with one of his interceptions. Des Bryant was double covered, and literally Dak just chucked it up and kind of threw in the middle of double coverage, which I haven't seen him do before. He would either run away or throw the ball away. So now he's trying to force things a little bit, and he's throwing interceptions, which is something he didn't really do at all last year. I think he had 4 all of last season. He had 4 in the game alone against Philadelphia. So he needs to play smarter, safer, and not try and do too much.
So how many where would you rank him right now? He's averaging 17.8 points per game. Where would you have him ranked right now as far as the fantasy quarterbacks go?
Top 15. I have him as my main quarterback in one league, and I don't feel confident every week, throwing him out there. I'm going to, but it's not the same type of confidence that I had with Tony Romo as my fantasy quarterback. I'll say that.
Yeah. Well, now I got Tom Brady. I ain't even got to worry about it. It's over until he gets hurt. Watch. It's going to happen for sure now since he's on my squad, just to end this season. Just end it. So we got 2 weeks in the regular season left. It's going to happen the next 2 weeks. Watch. That I met my another thing, Dan. Acquisition limit of 20. Man, you're killing me, man.
More than one a week.
More than one a week. Man, but if you make more than one mistake a week and you need more than one.
Well, that's the thing. Is it rewards people who know how to draft.
You can't help when your players get hurt either, though.
That's true. That is true.
That's what I need a buffer zone for. And when I was making some moves this week, I wasn't even thinking about it. I made a couple of guys, picked up a couple running backs because I needed the depth. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm done. This is it. So you guys better stay healthy the rest of the season, which it's coming to an end. But all right, so that's all the mailbag questions, guys. We appreciate every single one of them. Great comments, great questions. Keep it coming every single week. That was your Thanksgiving My Fantasy Podcast Giving Back episode to you guys. It was just me and Dan spreading the holiday cheer this time. So Orlando Torres, jump back here. See you soon, bro. Hope your grandpa is getting better. Ryan Thomas, try to bring him into the mix. And I'm sorry, DDT. DDT is just messaging us now like, hey, can I get on the podcast? I'm sorry. Me and Dan just went ahead and wrapped it up. Short episode this week. Sorry. So we'll get him on soon. And anybody else who wants to come on the My Fantasy Podcast. So appreciate you guys. What's going on that site right now? MyFantasySportsTalk.com. Dan, besides all of your college basketball out the yin-yang.
No, that's it. It's basically all college basketball right now. It's I'm hooked. I got it. I got college basketball in my IVs. And it's going right into the bloodstream. So that's going to continue. Our entertainment section has been rocking out lately. A lot of movies and TV shows coming out. We had one of our writers, Patrick Verhall, actually attend the Rhode Island Comic-Con with Credentialed. My Fantasy Sports Talk was credentialed there. So you're going to be seeing his pieces come out covering that. So that's very exciting. I know Brandon was jealous. you could not travel to the little island of Rhode and see those Comic-Con characters.
Always. I'm jealous every single year. It's where I want to be. It's my people. But we can all be winners.
Yeah, well, maybe next time we'll get you there. But you got that. Orlando just came out with a piece with his Man Up Step Aside for the Thanksgiving Day games. Our NFL picks are going to be coming out shortly. So NFL, NBA, of course, college basketball, we got you covered. And check out our Facebook page. Not only will you get our lovely podcast direct to Facebook now, but like Brandon said, I'll be going live at Canisius Games, showing some live footage from there. So that'll be pretty exciting. Got some games coming up that we're looking forward to. And obviously, just wanted to send a thank you to all of our fans for this opportunity. I mean, we've seen our attendance kind of come up over the last few weeks, and we look forward to what'll happen, into the holiday months and into 2018. So it's something I'm looking forward to, and just wanted to thank you all for that.
Man, it's been a great year. It's gone fast. This is the 35th episode of the year, Dan. So 52 weeks in the year. We missed the mark of getting one every single week, but you got to think a few of those were draft shows. And then we missed a few weeks here and there. Summer vacation, things happen. But 35 episodes strong. Maybe we can squeeze 40 out of this year, which would be incredible because we're talking about us doing generally about a 2-hour podcast that many times a year. I'm going to have to go back and watch some of them because I don't even remember what all we've covered, but that's a lot of My Fantasy Podcast content in 2017.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to go back and we'll have to figure out what that Oshkosh, Wisconsin thing is because I still have no idea. But yes, 80 hours of My Fantasy Podcast coverage this year. Brandon will go back, watch it all so I can finally figure out what this Wisconsin thing's about. If people don't know what I'm talking about 17 episodes ago, go watch.
It was probably more than that. It was probably like March. That was a long time ago. But yeah, we'll keep on doing it, man. Also on the website, the entertainment side, guys, Flash articles, Supergirl season 3 articles, and Dan, they're making an Incredibles 2. I know you watched the first one, right?
I don't even know what it is. So, so no. I know they're rebooting The Crow. Which one of our writers is not very out. They wrote a bashing letter or bashing article saying how the Crow reboot should not happen. So I knew about that, but I have no idea what The Incredibles is. Isn't that a cartoon maybe? Yeah,
it's an animated movie. It's great. It's about a comic, little superhero family. It's great, man. Oh, man.
Is he being recruited to Division I basketball?
Possibly.
That's when I'll pay attention.
I think he was a football player, but he was too quick to play. Unfair competitive advantage. So, but check it out. But also gifted articles too. All that on the website. College basketball. I'm really keeping Dan here from writing college basketball articles. So he's probably getting a little ticked at me. So we'll appreciate you guys for joining us this week on the Thanksgiving episode of My Fantasy Podcast from MyFantasySportsTalk.com. We'll be back in full strength hopefully next week for some more My Fantasy Podcast. It'll be episode 36 by then. So everyone have a safe and happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you next time. Later.